guys, welcome to another episode of Barbells with Banter podcast. I'm your host, Callum Sully, and I'm joined today by a guest I was very excited to have a conversation with, Fitz Koehler. Fitz, hello, how are you?
I'm spectacular, Callum, and thank you for having me on your show, and hello to all of my friends in England.
And speaking of England, it is, of course, snowing for the most part. I'm going to imagine, because you are in Florida, of course, Fitz,
right,
that it's not snowing where you are.
No, I woke up this morning in tank tops and flip-flops. So it's typical Florida right now. But I think the snow is magical. And if I were to step outside my door and, I don't know, make a snow angel or something, I'm sure you do that every day. Go make snow angels just because. But the snow's cold.
Yeah,
the snow's cold.
You're never too old for that at all.
That's right. Good.
Fitz, you are an author of multiple books, which we're going to talk about some of the highlights of those. But the thing that I was so excited to speak to you about, more importantly, was that you are America's most exciting keynote speaker, or one of. I like to let's not say one of. Let's just say you are
the most. That's
right.
Let's
go with that. And you're also a premier race announcer, and of course a fitness innovator like myself, but more importantly as well, similar to me, but obviously far different, you are a cancer survivor, and your books are strongly based around that as well. And we're going to get into that on the show, because I think that's what a lot of people are going to be intrigued to listen to, because who doesn't love an amazing comeback story? I know I certainly do. So, Fitz, I tell you what, this is a hard industry for a lot of people to get into, but some people, when I speak to them on this show, because I have a lot of guests that are nutritionists, dietitians, I don't often get that many guests that are still in the fitness realm. People leave through one reason or the other. It sort of excites people. But with yourself, obviously, you have an incredible business, Fitness. Obviously, that's taken you into the speaking, or also writing books as well. So how did you get into it to start with?
So I started teaching fitness when I was 15. I ended up in a gym after blowing out my knee at soccer or football, and I had to rehab it. I was going to physio, and they said, you need to continue strength training or you'll be injured again. So I started going to the gym, fell in love with it, and I started taking classes. And then I was working at a Cinnabon, making cinnamon rolls of all things, the most opposite to fitness. And so I got sick of making cinnamon rolls, and I applied at the gym, and they hired me. I hadn't even turned 15 yet. Started teaching classes, fell in love with it, fell in love with connecting with so many people, fell in love with the impact I could see fitness having on people. And then I went to college, the University of Florida. And at that point, I started working in television. I hosted a TV show called Cardio Jam. I worked in Europe. I was traveling for it. And you're right. A lot of people do leave the fitness industry because it's a job. People are working hourly rates, and they're not able to afford a lifestyle. They're not allowed to, they can't afford to have a home and to raise children and maybe take their kids to a Disneyland or Disney World someday. And so there was a real deterrent for me to stay in fitness. But what I decided is I'd get my master's degree in exercise and sports sciences. And instead of having it as a job, I would make an actual career out of it. And I knew there wasn't a place where I could go apply and work for somebody else and make it a career. So I built my own brand, and fitness is a gimmick-free form of fitness where I make fitness understandable, attainable, and fun. I do it via mass media, and I do it via corporate speaking and at sporting events, and of course, write the books. And I still am so committed to helping people live better and longer. And I'm even more motivated to do it now than I was decades ago when I got started.
That's awesome. And where did the race announcing come into play? Like, what's the most rewarding, challenging aspect of that? Because I've never spoken to someone, let alone do a podcast with someone that's a race announcer. So it excites me.
Yeah, most people don't even know it's a real job or a real profession. But about 10 years ago, I was the fitness expert, more or less, for Disney. And they were bringing me in constantly to speak to their cast members, their employees at large scale events. And then I would show up at their Disney marathon and their other Disney running events as the fitness expert, teaching runners how to do strength training and stretching and pain prevention. And they had a race announcer who was in charge of their start and finish lines. And he was always available to see me speak. And in fact, he was stuck introducing me every time I spoke. And he kept saying, "You're so fun and you're so engaging and you're so smart and people really connect." And eventually he said that he hosted an event in California, the Orange County Marathon, and wanted to see if I'd be interested in co-hosting it with him. And I said, "Well, I've never done it, but it looks like a lot of fun and I'd love to give it a go." And so I started announcing at that 25,000 person event. And since then,
Wow.
I've announced hundreds of events of mass scale all over America. But my job there is as thousands of runners show up, I have music playing, a professional sound system. I get people engaged, make sure they feel welcome and informed, make sure they know what to do, where to go, blah, blah, blah. And then I get them whipped into a frenzy. You know, I make sure everybody's excited. I whip them in the frenzy. I yell, "Go." They all leave, which makes me sad because we were having so much fun at the start line. And then they make their way back to me at the finish line, where technology usually allows me to welcome everybody by name. But instead of sitting in a booth like most announcers and just saying, "Welcome, John Smith, welcome, Susie Q," I get out and engage and I hug people and I run them through the finish lines. And I try to make every event an experience and every finish line feel like a festival and every athlete feel like a champion.
Amazing. I mean, the reason why I was very interested in it personally was because I've done it once.
Okay.
And we're talking 200 odd people, not quite
small
into the thousands. We're talking three figures. But, you know, in my town, it's quite a small town within near cities, but we have like an annual day. We call it Carnival Day. It's like a carnival. Most cities have them, and there is a race for charity where people do. It's a 10K race, and we got invited because you know myself and another trainer. We got invited to do a warm up, and a bit similar to yourself. Get them hyped up. We had the microphone. We had the speaker. All this jazz. Now I'm experienced in classes. Okay, I have been. We're talking 20 to 30 people, but this was something big for me. Like 200 plus people looking at me. I've got a microphone. That was the first time in my career I was nervous. Like really, like wow. But I relate to what you said. Like we've just had a great time. We've got them warmed up, coming up with some great routines. We're having a bit of banter, a laugh, and then it's like, right, go. And then, you're waiting for them to come back and they are knackered. They're all like, but you are, it's the high fives, like you say, the hugs and stuff. So I've done it once, and it's something that's on my, I guess, resume, but experience.
You should continue on.
Yeah.
Do it again.
And I'm like, that's fantastic. So I guess that's how that's then transitioned you into the speaking that you do now, because you've got that experience working with people.
I started speaking when I was about 19.
Okay.
I've been speaking for decades. And, you know, that my work as a speaker led to the race announcing.
Right.
But, you know, when you're teaching a fitness class, you're getting them moving at that moment. And hopefully you're imparting some wisdom, right? You're teaching people as you go. Well, when I take a stage and I'm able to just talk about fitness or health and get into the nitty gritty of not only the hows, but the whys, I feel like I can really leave people with a message that could be everlasting, one that they could take with them. And I always say, put the Fitzy on your shoulder. That's me. Put me on your shoulder. That. Take me with you. And hopefully they hear my words when they sit down for meals, when they, you know, go to hit the snooze button on their alarm because they don't want to get up. Hopefully I can remain in their head for the rest of their life to continue convincing them and compelling them to get up and move, or to make great choices with nutrition and sleep and so forth. So speaking has always been a really important part of what I do, and where I love race announcing. I love race announcing. But the thing that I am is a teacher. Yeah. And I would say the speaking, the presenting portion of what I do to be even more important, because that's where I can show people that fitness is not so complicated. And, you know, here's how to do it and to make it easy and productive. And so I love it. I love it. Some people have a fear of public speaking. I have a deep down fright of somebody never inviting me to speak again. You know what? I keep one of these. Way to go. Well, I got two. I got one. And I
Wow,
got
brilliant.
two. I
What we
need to
do
be on
that
a
already?
microphone.
Just in case you get paged or called, going, we need Fitzy, we need you down to the keynote.
And I'm
There's
like,
one near
here
you.
I go. Yeah. So, but I love what I do, and I love the people I serve. It's a real blessing.
Incredible. And of course, you're an author now. And you are working at it's multiple books now, isn't it, at this stage? But
Right.
obviously, what led you to that bit, which is where we get to the nitty gritty of this, is of course your health. And
Yeah.
you are, thank God, you can say this, a survivor, a cancer survivor. So, without going into too much detail about the situation itself, what was that like? Because I imagine that hit you quite hard. What you were already doing, and then you had a health scare like that.
Sure. It wasn't a health scare. It was a health crisis. It was a real.
Yeah.
My life was in danger. 6 weeks after a crystal clear mammogram, I found a lump, and within a week, I had already had the scans and the biopsy, and they told me it had already spread to the lymph nodes, and it was running through me like wildfire.
Wow.
And so I had 15 months of chemotherapy, 21 different rounds, and 33 rounds of radiation, and some surgery, and it was god awful. I was, without any evidence, I was convinced I was dying, and so that initial trying to come to grips with, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna see Christmas, I'm not gonna have this or that. I have 2 children, and even though I was really sad to lose my own life, I was terrified not to see Ginger and Parker and be with them for the rest of their life. It was agonizing. And so eventually my doctors confirmed that they were going to cure me, that they had a game plan, and I just had to endure the cure. But, the mental game was really tough.
Yeah.
And I made some really good decisions up front before they even started my treatment. I made some damn good decisions that carried me through. And I'm very grateful to be 5 years cancer free now.
Incredible. And how do you think your background in fitness helped influence that recovery process and your mindset, obviously, during that battle with breast cancer? Do you feel like that journey you had beforehand certainly helped with that recovery?
Yeah, so I would say that every failure I had pre-cancer and every athletic adventure I had, whether it was playing soccer as a kid or I was a competitive kickboxer for 10 years, all of those experiences, all of those hard lessons learned, every time I got punched in the face, those prepared me to do these really scary things, because almost everything involved in cancer is scary. Needles are scary, scans are scary, surgery is scary, and so forth. So I was accustomed to doing things that were hard. I was accustomed to doing difficult things. When you're walking into a kickboxing ring, even though I love the sport and I love kicking people in the head and I wanted to fight, I wanted to be in those places. But as I was walking out to the ring and the announcer was saying, and here's Fitz type thing, all of a sudden you're walking in and you're thinking, feet, go the other way. Go the other way. What are you doing? Right? So there's actual fear and nerves, but to do things you're frightened of, even though you're frightened, that's a skill. That's a skill. And so those kickboxing supported me. All those failures led up to that. And my attitude was that even though I was frightened, I wasn't a kid with cancer and it wasn't my kid with cancer. And so I was going to be grateful that I was not a kid with cancer and it wasn't my kid. How fortunate to be a grown up. And so I tried never to have a pity party. I never had a why me moment, knowing that there are babies 4 miles from my house with cancer. What did they do? Right. So I never thought that. And I chose to keep that perspective. And then I chose to pursue my passions. And I was so sick. I was violently ill for 15 solid months. I lost all the weight. I got to a point where my mother had said, you need to eat. You look like you're in the Holocaust, me and my bald head and my skeletal body. I said, I know I'm trying, right? But so here's the deal. When it comes to the exercise and nutrition thing, about 5-6 months into my treatment, I go into my oncologist's office for my next chemo. And he says, Fitz, I'm so proud of you. You're doing so well. And I said, what? Because I'm so proud of you. And now, mind you, I was emaciated. All of my fingernails had ripped off. My toenails were gone. My eyelashes were gone. My eyes changed color. My vision was going bad. Everything was going wrong with me. And I said, why are you saying I'm doing well? I am doing awful. And he said, Fitz, I'm not saying you're suffering. However, if you were not so healthy and fit coming into this crisis, and you have not continued, had you not continued to do every little thing you possibly could within fitness, whether it was leg lifts in bed or stretches in the shower or just choosing a potato over bread, something nutritious, he said, you likely would have been hospitalized for a good month. He said, I'm giving you the meanest chemo I give anybody.
Yeah.
And you're not in the hospital right now. You haven't had a feeding tube. You haven't had infections because of that, because of your commitment to fitness. So it's really paid off. And not only was I not in the hospital, I boarded 30 planes out of my hometown to go announce races and do keynotes. So I continued traveling all over America during cancer. So I thought, oh, that makes sense. And then when I felt like I had really hit rock bottom, when I was so weak and so frail, and so I got to the gym and I tried to lift. And what I found is I had lost about 80% of my strength. It had all just gone. And at that moment, I thought, well, this is bad, but I'm a fitness expert. I know exactly how I'm going to build my body back. I never had a doubt that I would go from sick to strong, and I would do it with baby steps, and it was measured. And I did an awesome job. I did go from a frail little skeleton. A year after treatment, I ran the Boston Marathon. So yay me. However, at that very same moment where I was feeling very confident, I was thinking about the millions of other cancer patients on earth that are also being ravaged by cancer and have absolutely no clue how to rebuild their body, rebuild their mind, get back to not only normalcy, but vibrancy, right? How do you go from death's door to living large? And so that's when I decided to write my books. And that's when I really became committed. I thought I will take my long-lasting, broad fitness expertise and my extraordinary experience as a cancer patient, put it together to help other people through it. And it's probably been one of the most important things I've ever done.
That's incredible. And so much of that, of course, I'm nodding away. My listeners know my journey. And I think you're right in the sense that not only, first of all, how fitness can really have an impact on recovery after surgery, after treatment.
Yeah.
And you see it. But then I'm nodding away because the moment you said that once you lost all your strength, which I did too, after having months of time off, like you say, you don't eat properly, you're on all these different medication treatments, and you're recovering from a very shocking experience that your body's had to endure. So you're going to lose strength, you're going to lose fitness. But I got you straight away when you're like, I understand how to build my strength back.
Yeah.
And I completely agree. It's humbling. That's the word. There's two words I've taught myself this year. One is resilience, because it was that resilience that got me through my tumour and my situation, my surgery and my recovery. And I'm sure it sounds very similar. That is what got you through your awful journey, that went on for a long time. And I think that the other word is humbling, because just speaking to you, hearing you now explain about your journey, and then hearing you explain how you are thinking about other people who are also suffering with this disease, that I can relate to that, because when I went to Christie's, which is the cancer hospital here in the UK, I'd heard before I went that cancer patients are some of the most positive and optimistic people in healthcare, and I'd heard about this, but from nurses and stuff, but I'd never seen this until I went. And obviously, when I was there discussing radiotherapy and chemotherapy, the atmosphere was so different. And I can understand what you were saying there, Fitz, which is that people are like very much like yourself. They're like, it's almost as if they're backed against the wall. Their only way to push forward now is to fight. And there's a humbling strength and resilience behind that. But yeah, it's incredible to hear your journey, and it just reassures to me that fitness, it really can save your life. and improve the longevity of life. So when it came to your books then, what was that first one that you've written, and why? How hard was that? Because I've spoke to a few authors, and I've got a couple of friends who've written one who is writing her second book now, and I remember her telling me about the first one. How was that, writing that first book? Because I know you've got more now.
So the very first book I wrote was about 15 years ago. It was the Everything Flat Belly Cookbook, and that was the challenge. I had a tight deadline, made it happen. Any book is a colossal amount of effort, and it's very funny how many people are like, "Oh, I'm going to write a book one day." I'm like, "Yeah, good. Have at it. Have at it trying to write a good book that people want to read, right?" Yeah. It is a colossal project. And even with all of the information in my head, putting it out in an organized way, in an entertaining way. And it takes a lot of effort. I wrote most of my books on airplanes. And that's when I'm on a plane, it's my time where I'm forced to sit down and shut up for hours on end. So I bring my laptop and I get it done. So the first book, out of the series, my second book ever, was my noisy cancer comeback, running at the mouth while running for my life. And this one is the memoir. And I wrote this because what I found is when I was going through cancer care, there were so many surprises. There's so many surprises that it may not have been surprising if people would have talked about what they went through. Like, nobody talks about your fingernails ripping off. Nobody talks about that. Every round of chemo killed my fingernails, and I had these ridges crazy. So there was all this weird stuff happen. My eyes changed colors. Nobody mentioned that. And so I was blindsided by a lot of stuff. And then also I had made these really good decisions up front. And I thought, well, I could really help people make good decisions as well if I would share my story. Even though I walked around bald and people knew I had cancer, I never really let people understand how difficult and what was going on, because I didn't want pity, right? But once I was getting through it, I thought, well, I could release this book, and you can't pity me in reverse, right? If you can't read this and be like, oh, you poor girl, 2 years ago you had this. So I decided this would be the good, a good thing to do. And it's filled with all sorts of really funny stories, because believe it or not, hilarious things happen when you're a cancer patient. Lots of scary, lots of sad, but lots of really funny too. And I'm just a weirdo to talk about that. And then once that was done, I started on Your Healthy Cancer Comeback, Sick to Strong. So this one is the guidebook. It's full color. It's filled with some of the chapters are foods that help versus foods that hurt. And so there's no gimmicks, there's no diets, and there's no nonsense. It's actual research on which foods are proven to help boost your immune system, make you a more powerful, healthy person, and which foods could put you at risk, right? Which foods are known carcinogen, processed meats. Why are we even doing that, right? And then there's a huge chapter on how to exercise. And let's get here again, full color, because I want my readers to have a nice time. But let's get past that. How to exercise in a chair. I'm sure after brain surgery, maybe some people don't have the balance to stand up and do exercise. But if you can do things in a chair, then you can work on maintaining health and performance without falling down, right? There's a huge section on exercises you can do in bed, which I did a ton of because I had a lot of sick days. But even on sick days, I was able to be proactive. And so this book, it goes into from nutrition to exercise, how often, when, how to exercise in the hospital, how to exercise in an appointment room waiting for your oncologist to show up, complementary care, mental health. So this is the book I want every single cancer patient on earth to have. I think upon diagnosis, if every person gets this book, they're going to do so much better because they're going to know how, and hopefully they'll be motivated to control what they can. And then the last in this series is the Healthy Cancer Comeback Journal. And this is a place to document all your diagnosis and treatment details and log your path back from sick to strong. Here's the little Advent, the Advent calendars for Christmas. This is your Advent calendar for chemo. So you can cross off the little chemo bags as you go. Some of the fun stuff. I mean, people always told me they would tell me what celebrity I look like bald. I got that a lot. I mean, the cancer world is weird. So people would say, you look like Sinead O'Connor. And I'd say, it makes sense. Sure, I look like Sinead O'Connor. And then they'd say, you look like Grace Jones. And I'd say, really? Do I really look like Grace Jones?
It seems they're just comparing common people with her. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, but then my best, which I got most frequently, I would say every day, I got, "You look just like crazy Britney Spears." And that was awesome. I loved being crazy Britney Spears. So anyhow, there's fun stuff for cancer patients because when if they lose their hair, people say you look like Mel Gibson or Voldemort or whatever. So the journal is right. I look like Shrek sometimes too. But the last half of the book is where to document all your exercise, nutrition, hydration, sleep, so you can log your path from sick to strong. So it's the Cancer Comeback 3-pack, and they're doing great. And actually, they sell a ton in England, which I like very much.
Fantastic. What stores have you got it listed here in the UK?
Amazon, and then I'm not sure what other bookstores are there because the distributor handles that, but they've done very well in Amazon UK. And Amazon Germany and Australia seem to like them too, which makes me happy. Yeah.
Listening, I will be posting the links to go and check those books out in the show notes. Some people like to go, like the feeling of going to a store and buying books. A lot of people fearing the Amazon takeover. I don't mind. I still have a lot of sort of softback books, but yes, people. But hey, Christmas is coming, guys.
That's right.
And I'm assuming as well, Fitz, that you don't necessarily have to go for your own battle with cancer to purchase this book. I guess it could work for someone who has had a family member or friend who's experienced it.
That's really cool of you to say. So one of the last chapters in Your Healthy Cancer Comeback is, as I said, chapter 11 is Your Cancer Crushing Community. So this chapter is specifically what you share with your bestie, your neighbors, whatever. This is to teach them how they can help you. And I not only do people normally buy these as gifts? Like if you know someone, loves someone, care about anyone with cancer, this is a great gift because most people say, "I wish I could help." Okay, this is how you help weaponize them with exercise and nutrition knowledge. Where was I going with that?
It's okay. It happens. It happens to me. It happens to me in the middle of the gym. I can pick something up, like something simple as a dumbbell. Yeah, my clients are fantastic because, like yourself, I shared my journey stuff, and they are aware that there's a chunk of my brain missing, and I sometimes I stand there and doing my job, but I also own a gym, and I'm teaching classes, and I'm like, right, guys, and here's it. And it's gone. I can't remember if it's a dumbbell, if it's a barbell. I know what I'm holding, but the folk, and it's very easy for me to say to him, like, it's all the medication I've been taking and all the treatment I've been having, and the fact that I've got a chunk of my brain ripped out. But here I am. Wow. And funny you said before about like the joking and stuff. When I was waiting for my surgery, and I was on medication stuff, but I was still working until I had to stop working because, of course, things like this take you out. And I'd have like newer clients that didn't know and enjoy me, and I might drop it to them. I didn't go, "Oh, hello, guys," just to let you know. But I'd have to warn people just a bit. Because epilepsy was a secondary condition, of course, that's it. So that's something I still have to battle, but I can work around that. So like you said, I've had to adapt my fitness to this new normal, and that's where being a fitness instructor works perfectly. But I'm like, well, I know how my body works, so I can do this. And my goal, similar to yourself, has now been inspired to work with people, not necessarily who've had this, but anybody who has been facing hardships with their health, and not just the health, mental health as well. Like, you can use this incredible tool as fitness. But they would turn around to me and say, "Wow," because I joke about it in a way of, I called my tumour Fred.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Fred. Who's scared of Fred? Freddy Krueger and stuff like that. But I almost humanised it because in my personal life, Fitz, and it might be the same with you. But if I can't even joke about that, then I really am lost. I don't take anything too seriously. I think you always have to find some sort of light that, or all the devastating news and all that.
Right.
Even with you, the treatments and stuff, it's good to
Yeah.
see some uplifting.
So here's the deal. A lot of people know sometimes you laugh so hard you cry. Sometimes you cry so much you have to laugh.
Brilliant.
You got it's humor, it's joy, it's choosing joy. And even in the face of cancer, I cried every day. It was god awful, and I was so sick. It just was brutal, and the travel and the work I did was so physically demanding, but I wanted to be at those places. I wasn't bullied into it. I mean, of course I needed the income, but I chose my career. But I'd cry 15 minutes and then I'd get on with it. I'd be like, okay, boo hoo hoo hoo, got it out, moving forward. And then, being able to laugh at myself and the head, it wasn't just bald. I had I'm a Floridian. The sun's out all the time. I had a tan line where my part was. So I wasn't just a bald person. I was a full-blown skunk with a stripe down my head from that tan line. I mean, how do you not laugh at all of this insanity? And so it's funny, you mentioned your tumor's nickname. That's one of the prompts in the journal is, have you nicknamed your tumor? But then I remembered what I was going to say is, and it's been a surprise to me because I've not marketed this at all. But your Healthy Cancer Comeback is now being adopted by people with MS and Parkinson's and all sorts of different physical ailments, because the content works for them too. So really proud of that. And like you said, we are both in the field of helping people live better, live longer. Fitness, exercise is a legitimately proven, powerful tool. You can weaponize exercise and nutrition. As a cancer patient, you can weaponize those things to help you reach remission. There are studies after studies that prove if you take care of your body, if you move your body, if you eat the right things, you will be more likely to get to remission, and you will be less likely to have a recurrence. So if you're sitting at home thinking, well, I don't need to exercise yet, or it's not so important, I don't have cancer, prepare your body to do battle today, because you never know when illness or injury will strike. And if Callum and I can come down, be diagnosed with cancer out of the blue, well, so can you. Or you can get hit by one of those double-decker buses roaming around England, right? So there's lightning, there's mosquitoes with diseases, there's all sorts of different things that can come our way. And if you are strong and fit going into any sort of crisis, you will be far more likely to recover and rebound quickly and efficiently than if you were a weak, sickly person.
Absolutely. I wish I could give you a round of applause, but it would affect the poor listeners would hear too heavy clapping. But we'll give you a silent one because that was fantastic. I want to talk about. So you've got one of your programs, the Morning Mile. So this has inspired millions. What impact have you seen that this program has had on children and their communities?
Yeah, it's one of my great joys professionally and personally. Morning Mile is a before school walking running program that invites every child to participate at school every day, along with the faculty, their families, the school bus driver. Everybody's welcome. And I created the program with health in mind. I created with healthy bodies in mind. And what I was instantly hit with is the fact that the teachers said, thank you so much for, now that my kids are exercising in the morning, they show up to class, they sit still. They're not touching each other. They're not getting in trouble. Their grades are improving because they can focus better. The school principals, the directors, they're thrilled because all the kids want to be at the Morning Mile. So they show up early to exercise. They naturally now arrive to school on time. And so it's had an incredible impact on the students' ability to learn and behave and be where they're supposed to be. So many parents reach out. And it's morningmile.com, and it is international. So I'd be happy to implement this program in anywhere in the world. But parents say, I want to get this program started in my kid's school because my kid has ADD or ADHD. My kid has behavioral issues. And so I started with healthy bodies. That was my focus. And what I have found is that this program is legitimately benefiting the mind and the mental well-being of so many of these children and their families. And so many of their families are getting fit too. It's incredible how many parents have shared that they've lost 30 pounds, 60 pounds from doing the
Yeah.
morning mile with their kids. So, yeah, it's one of my babies. Like when I die one day, on my tombstone, I want the mother, the wife, morning mile. Morning mile should be there, because that will be one of the things that meant most to me.
I think it's powerful because I guess it's the most powerful achievement because you've created a potential future there that's going to go on far, hopefully, far beyond. When me and you doing this podcast are gone, because at the end of the day, kids are at such a stage, especially young children, and even if they have things like ADHD, neurodivergent as they want to call it now. But the thing is, they children are learning everything from their parents for a long time, and then when they go to school, same with their teachers. So if they're watching their parents also get involved, because you just mentioned the parents are feeling the benefits of that, I think that's great, because that's going to lead their adulthood into that mindset then when they're children, and they're going to be like, right, come on, let's go to Fitz, or hopefully whoever you've got continuing this journey, because I could have done with you as when I was at school, because I didn't like, well, we call it PE here, physical education. I don't like it. Ironically, I'm a fitness professional now,
right?
But at that age, but I think it was more a case. I'm not blaming my teachers, but there wasn't that inspiration to do that, wasn't there? And I think, especially starting in the morning, like you say, the rest of the day, their behaviour's getting better because they're active. They've already got it out of the system.
Yeah, and one of the main factors of the morning mile is it's a skill-less experience. Almost everybody can walk or run. We have plenty of kids in wheelchairs doing the morning mile, but there's no instruction, there's no choreography, there's no there's no competition. There are rewards based for performance, but it's not really a you won, I won type thing. We're just saying, hey, kudos, you did another great job. But yeah, they know how to walk, they know how to run. There's no pressure to do any distance, to run at all. You could go walk the whole time and talk to your friends. You could show up, walk one lap while holding hands with your bestie, and then go to class. So it's a pressure-free environment. Welcomes everybody. Some of my programs have 400 people out walking or running every morning, which is insane. There's music playing. It's a fun, welcoming, easy peasy environment. And because of that, kids like you who maybe felt like they don't fit in at PE or sports, they can show up to morning mile. They can blend in. They can not stand out because they're not weird, right? They're not failing. They're just part of the pack. And my intention with this program is choosing something that is so simple, stupid, like walking, that you can do when you're 5, when you're 12, when you're 25, when you're 85. This is the habit that they can start every single one of their days for the rest of their life in an active way. They can get out and go for a walk. And so I'm very much looking forward to hearing Olympians saying, I got my start at the morning mile, or CEOs saying, I learned discipline, I learned habits, I learned health from the morning mile. And again, we're not preaching anything. It's just opportunity to move, but it's so very impactful. I love it. I'm very excited. I'm really hoping, I want to get Elon Musk to sponsor some programs. He seems really gung-ho on supporting Americans and loving this country. So I'm hoping maybe we could tap into some Elon Musk funding for America, at least for starters.
Yeah. And especially if you like you say about getting them books into cancer hospitals, because I think that is an absolute must. That is a must, in my opinion. That's a non-negotiable. That book that you kindly just showed to us, should be given to. It should be mass distributed in all cancer wards and not just cancer, like you said, MS, many different chronic conditions that are very very impactful, very drain your body of all of its resources, and sometimes you need that mental resource to help recover the body. And what role do you see fitness in playing going forward because of course we have podcasts now. There's so much YouTube videos, TikTok. Yeah, I see a rise in fitness now, and especially, I mean, from the UK, our king has cancer. And I'm seeing videos of trainers trying to encourage him to get and do some movement and stuff. His sons are doing that, the princes. What for you? Obviously, it's helped with your journey. You've impacted many, many, many people doing the same thing. Do you think it's going in the right direction? Do you think that the doctors and the medical industry is going to push more for the fitness?
I
You hope so.
I could hope. I mean, let me start by saying the king and Princess Kate, we're all rooting for them. What lovely people, and I hope they are well. I actually sent Princess Kate these 2 books. When she was diagnosed, I said, from America, I hope they help. Hopefully she's used them. If not, maybe they're floating around somewhere else. But yeah, I mean, I see some people taking their health really seriously. Within the running community, for example, I'll have 20,000 people line up to do a race. I'm so excited they're there. Yeah. But out of those 20,000 people, maybe only about 15% of them are of ideal weight. Yeah. Being 20 pounds overweight can still have serious impact on your joints, on your spinal column, on your organs, on your lifespan. That might be the thing that tips you into a heart attack. So, getting people to their ideal weight, it's about convincing people that diets are dumb. Most supplements are snake oil. Now, there are some real pharmaceuticals that can help with your weight loss, like Ozempic and so forth. But the exact formula for weight loss, it's on the cover of fitness.com. But I teach people how to eat the right amount of the right food for the precise size they want to be. They don't have to buy a product with some weird diet food or keto is crazy. We don't need any of that garbage. So how do we convince the world that the quick fix gimmicks are a thing of the past? They're garbage. They do not belong in the mindset of normal, healthy individuals. And I'm not talking about healthy, but I'm talking about healthy minded. If you have an IQ over 70, you should know by now that 100% of the diets are garbage. Cut it out. Stop doing that. Also, let's convince them of the 4 pillars of fitness. No matter who you are, you should work on strength, total body. That's your ability to lift, push, press, pull against resistance. Strong neck helps you not get whiplash in a car accident. Strong legs, strong back help you lift things, lift your grandchildren, not get injured by carrying things. Cardiorespiratory endurance, your heart and your lungs, if they are not strong and powerful, you are going to have a bad time at some point. You should do exercises that make you huff and puff. Flexibility, that should equal mobility. If you would like to be able to move, put your body through its full range of motion without injury or pain, stretch often. It's not complicated. People know how to stretch. And if not, there's a bunch of YouTube videos, right? And then balance training is vital. Balance is one of those things that will take you out. Once you hit 60 something, if you're not strong on balance, you are more likely to fall. I just left my mother's house. She's 84. She has had her shoulder replaced, her elbow, her hip, her knee, all from falls. And now she looks like Batman, black and blue above the nose from hitting the wall. So, the 4 pillars of fitness, nutrition, and don't plan to be perfect. Just plan to do better. If you get 1% better every day moving forward, eventually you'll be in a body that you love, a body that feels good, looks great, and performs well. That's all you can ask for.
Fantastic. Yeah, I was going to say, but my next question was going to be, if you could leave my listeners with one message to improve their health and happiness today, what would that be? Because that's normally a question that I would end. I would ask with all of my guests, would sort of be a sum up.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And he always had his final thought, didn't he? Where he'd sit there and and here's from my final thought. So I kind of get all my guests to go, right, and what's your final thought? You've just delivered an absolute quality final thought there. I don't even need to ask you that question now. I think everybody, if you're listening to this now on replay, go and rewind and listen to everything Fitz just said one more time and then make some notes, because that was powerful stuff. And yeah, I completely agree about the pillars. People need to stop thinking that fitness is just for weight loss. And like you said, weight loss is important because of health. But I think people's focus on their body image, their weight loss, and the scales purely for aesthetic reasons is part of the problem. Yes, I understand. I'm not into. I don't like fat shaming. I understand. Yeah, being curvy. You don't have to be slim and skinny.
That's right.
But I also agree that you can't ignore the simple fact that your human body, your skeletal system, your cardio system, respiratory system, it can only handle so much. When you
That's
get
right.
older, metabolism slows, that becomes more weight bearing. And I believe, and like many others, that Fitz got through her journey because of her love and passion for fitness and staying in shape, which helped her through recovery. In the same sense that I believe the reason I've had such a great
Yeah.
recovery is because of fitness, and I saw it. I saw it in hospital with my own eyes. I walked down to the MRI the next day, and I could see all the nurses running around panicking. I'm like, no, I walked down because they've never seen that before, right?
Yeah.
They've
Good
never.
job.
They've got people around in on the bays next to me, obviously on oxygen. They can't see properly, and then I'm just like, They came and wheeled me a chair, okay, to head down to my MRI. It's my post-op scan, and I just went, no, I know where it is. And my surgeon comes up to me literally the day after I was discharged and goes, right, you're good to go. And I even had to go, really? Of course, the recovery was a long journey, but he basically
Sure.
said, I know you're fit and healthy. I know what you do for a living. I know you know your stuff. You've got this from on your own from this point. And I did, and it was hard. And I imagine it was so much more difficult for yourself, but the same thing applies, doesn't it? It's that
You know what?
resilience.
You know what, Callum? Number one, it's not a competition,
No.
and number two, I can't imagine someone digging in my brain. So, you know,
Well, I was asleep, so I don't remember it, if that helps.
thank goodness. Even knowing that was coming, but I'm so grateful that we're both okay, and hopefully we can serve to inspire other people to control what they can today. If you don't have
Brilliant.
cancer, great. Start doing your best. Again, 1% every day. And again, hopefully cancer never comes knocking on your door.
Yeah.
But if it does, or you do get hit by the bus or something else happens, your body will be far more prepared to be resilient and recover.
Fitz, what's next for you and Fitzness, which we can see a lovely sign in the background. If you're listening on audio, but the video will be on, make sure to go and watch on YouTube, and you can see this awesome sign that Fitz has got behind her for her business, Fitzness. Are there new projects or goals on the horizon for you and Fitzness?
Yeah, there are. So I'm working on book number 5, which will be a book, a book for the masses, a fitness book for the masses. So I love the Cancer Comeback series, but there's a whole bunch of people I've left behind with that one. So the next book is a fitness series, and more keynotes. I've got a ton of those booked. I've got a ton of race announcing. I'd love to come speak in England if anyone's hiring speakers over there. I lived in England for a few months many years ago, and I really enjoyed it. So
whereabouts did you live here in the UK? In England,
Eastcote. Is it Eastcote? And it was off the Piccadilly line down Eastcote and Uxbridge, somewhere around there.
Yes,
and that was great. What else is? I don't know, just a lot of great stuff. More morning mile, more speaking, more race announcing. I announced professional pickleball tournaments now, which is a funny.
It's a big thing now, pickleball. I play tennis. That's one of the things that has been in my comeback story. I used to play when I was younger, but I love playing tennis now because I can't lift as heavy as I used to because of intracranial pressure, and I'm aware of that. I can't ride roller coasters anymore even. That's fine. So I've had to adapt my training, but I've started really enjoying my cardio stuff. I've started really enjoying running, walking, especially tennis, getting back into that. But yeah, the reason why I say it is because a lot of the tennis players of the club that I've joined, they're all going to pickleball UK tournaments and representing. Yeah, and it's really fun.
It's really fun. Okay, so this is what I should tell you. This is the thing, one of the things I'm up to, and I'm super excited about. So I had 21 rounds of chemo,
right,
which was the worst part of it to me. And so what I've set myself on is the 21 round challenge. For each round of chemo, I am replacing it with a round of athletic adventure, or excitement. And so I'm on a mission to do 21 extraordinary things to make my life way better, to undo the bad with good. And so the first 5 rounds, and when I finished chemo a month later, I did a Spartan, which was a blast. It was here in Florida and the trails were flooded, and it made me feel alive, right? And then the next weekend I did a triathlon, which was crazy. And I came in dead freaking last, and it was awesome. 3rd round, I did the Boston Marathon, which was incredible. And then round number 4, I competed in a Dancing with the Stars competition, a big one. It wasn't the one on television, but it was broadcast, and it was in front of a large audience of 600. I danced the jive, and it was awesome. And then 5th round, I swam with whale sharks. And so incredible. I am looking for 16 more rounds of awesome, something that challenges my mind or my body, or just makes me laugh, something that provides exhilaration. And so not only am I doing this, but I'm encouraging all of my other cancer crushers. And I don't really call survivor. Survivor makes me feel like a victim. I don't like that term.
I agree.
So I call myself and my other cancer crushers, but I'm inviting all my other cancer crushers. If you come to fitzness.com, it's F-I-T-Z or Z, F-I-T-Z-N as in Nancy, E-S-S.com. There's a block on the front page called 21 rounds. And you go there, you'll read about my story, and then there's an opportunity for you to connect with me and commit to your challenge. Maybe it's 5 rounds of chemo or 12 rounds of radiation, or maybe it's one big old brain surgery, right? So, or you could do 21 rounds in honor of me and you, right? So I want other cancer crushers to join me, getting their life back and making their life better post-treatment.
Amazing. I love that. Literally a new challenge for every round of chemo. Talk about someone taking the worst thing that they've experienced. And you even said that was the worst part of the whole journey for you. So to take that, the memory of, because a lot of people, Fitz, would have gone through that horrible part of the process and never want to think about it ever again. They just want to move on and sort of forget it. And I noticed that's a thing when people have survived something like that. I hear that all the time. They don't like, I don't want to call it pity, but they don't like too much empathy. It's a bit, it makes them feel a victim a little bit, and they don't like that.
Ugh, I don't wear pink ribbons either.
Exactly.
Yuck. No,
what you've done instead is to go a complete different route and go, I'm going to remember the worst part of my journey, and I'm going to flip it and go for every round of that awful life-saving drug.
Yeah, awful.
That's right. That every one you had, you're now going to do something that's even more challenging. And it's almost like I don't want to say it's a bit of a FU to the cancer, but it kind of is.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's more importantly, it's a yay me. Life is short. I get that.
Why not?
I wasn't fearful before, but now I'm even more fearless because, what's scary compared to cancer, right? So every day, you never know. You never know what's coming your way. So live large. And, the 5 rounds I've done so far have been awesome. So some of the things on my list, I'd like to do a television game show, Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy, anything like that would be fun. I think mentally challenging. And the TV show, The Walking Dead, they record in Georgia, very close. I'd like to be a walker.
Yes,
I'd like to be a hideously ugly
yeah.
zombie dragging myself along the grass. That would be great. So, I'm working on leaning into some of these hopes. And then I'm always up for suggestions. And on my website, there's a space there too. So, let's say maybe you own a company that focuses on adventure. Okay, well, reach out and tell me about it. Maybe I'll do that. But most importantly, I want other cancer crushers to come in and join me, and let's all make our lives better despite cancer.
Absolutely. Fitz, it's been an absolute pleasure to hear from you today and to get to chat to you, because you've left me buzzing. I'm inspired, especially by the 21 challenge, because whilst I'm not planning to swim with whale sharks anytime soon, plus I live in a cold island on the top of hills, I don't think I'll find one anytime soon.
You do you find your rounds.
But it's inspired me something similar. I'm doing a lot of my journaling, and in my journaling I'm being challenged, only small things. It's like and I'm finding myself being a bit more, a hell of a lot more brave, because you're right. Once you've been through something like that, it humbles you to go, wow, anything can happen, and how do I be prepared for that if it happens again? And then using that to inspire other people, I think is incredible what you're doing, Fitz, with Fitness, with your Cancer Comeback series. And of course, with this challenge, I think that's fantastic as well. Guys, I'll be putting the links to the books. They're on Amazon, so I can post the links to that. Go and check them out, and also go and check out Fitz's website as well, which will be posted in the show notes. Go and give her a follow. Where can people find you on social media, Fitz?
Yeah, I'm at Fitzness everywhere, on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. I'm on LinkedIn, and I promise if somebody follows, I will provide quality content in return. But really, I'd much rather have friends than followers. So if you're going to follow, please say, I heard you on Callum's podcast, and we can be best friends now, because that's really what I'm after, is more best friends.
Love that. Okay, Fitz, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
I'm lost for words. You've motivated me. Hopefully, everyone who's listening to this, and I have a lot of people in America listen to it. I have a lot of people in Canada also listen to it. And, of course, my UK audience as well. And, of course, my clients that have probably been watching this all the way through. Before you go, Fitz, I do apologise. I've got one question that one of my long-term clients wanted me to ask you. And I've got it up here, because I told her I told her about your journey ahead of the live stream, and she wants to ask you this question, and that was, what are your top 5 functional training exercises that you would suggest are the most important for a woman of a menopausal age? And I know that's not something that we got into of that side, but that's a question she asked, and I figured you're definitely going to be a good person to ask that to.
That's a great question. What's her name?
Her name is Michelle.
Hi, Michelle. It's a great question. Okay, so menopausal women, I would start by saying your erector spinae, that's your low back muscles. And I say that because too many people are starting to hunch. Too many people ignore their low back, and you see it. You see it by people tilting forward, which I think is very unattractive, and it leads to
office workers. Yeah, office workers are kind of sat hunched in, aren't they?
So I'm a fan of the Supermans, where you lie flat on your face and you lift your arms and legs up at the same time, or one of each or 3 of each. Bridges, where you lie on your back and you lift your hips. So I say low back for certain. I'll probably go straight to the other side and say work your abdominal muscles, all three parts of your abdominals. You do the rectus abdominis forward, your obliques, and then that transverse abdominis with planks. But either way, standing up straight is a very big deal. And, anybody who's aging, they start to slouch, they start to move forward. And I'd rather you be upright. That's not only going to help you perform better, feel better, but it's a lot sexier, Michelle. And however old you are, you might as well look your best. Confidence, standing up straight is hot as hell. So start there. As far as other exercises go, I like compound exercises where you're doing a couple of things at once. So for example, squats with dumbbells with a military press, working on your glutes and your quads and your shoulders, nice curvy shoulders. Sometimes women fear strength training. It sounds like you don't, but we're actually not at risk for putting on bulk. So many women think, I won't strength train. I don't want to look like a bodybuilder. It's like saying, if you run down the block, you're instantly going to be a gold medalist in the Olympics. It doesn't just happen. If you want to put on bulk, you're going to have to go crazy with nutrition and really start pounding away at protein and overdosing your muscles with the effort to utilize a protein to get larger and excessive calories. So you don't all have to worry about strength training, you don't have to worry about putting on bulk. It's not really a problem. So low back, your abdominals, your glutes, quads, shoulders. I do like that. I'm going to say balance training. I know it's not exactly what you asked for, but I really want everybody to do balance training, because falls, you know what? We fell down as little kids and we bounced. We don't bounce anymore. And hitting the ground leads to humiliation, pain. If you're lucky, only bruising and some scrapes. If you're not lucky, it could be broken bones, skull fracture, concussion, humiliation. You might not be able to work. Might not be able to function with your kids or grandkids. So balance training, which is as simple as standing on one foot while you brush your teeth, or standing on one foot with your eyes closed, or standing on one foot while flapping your arms, or playing catch. So it's really a simple type of exercise that goes a long way. And then I'm trying to think, what else do I like? Oh, angry ups, the final exercise. It's called angry ups, and they're on fitzness.com. I have a whole series of workout videos. We'll go to the video section, and angry ups. They say that your ability to get off the ground without using your hands is directly correlational to your longevity. And so with an angry up, you lie flat on your back with your arm above your head, straight out, legs extended, arms up, and then you lift your fingers towards the ceiling, and then you just rise. And see if you can do that, Michelle. See if you can rise all the way up without touching the ground. And if you can, great. Do it 10 times, do it 20 times, and do that frequently. It'll work your back, your abs, your hip flexors, your glutes. It's a really cool total body exercise. But if you can't do that, we're going to start working towards it. You can do it with your arms up, cross your legs, and stand. On the angry up video, you'll see there's a few options there, but that is my final exercise for the top 5. Great question.
There you go, Michelle. A great answer to a great question. She just responded. I love it. If she's watching this live, she did also put before I asked you the question, she must have been referring to what we were discussing earlier, but she says, so many healthy people around me are ill. It almost puts me off fitness, and then I remind myself that you guys fought it off because you've looked after yourself. So I think that's even just from this podcast between us, just in the last hour, we've inspired people, and I guess that's what we both individually want to keep doing, is inspire more and more people.
Yeah, Michelle, there is no benefit to weakness. Going in the other direction, that's a bad decision, right? Just giving up. And then you're going to be like, what? Like the worst of the worst. So stick with it and know that you can control a lot. We can't control our genetics. And then, maybe we can't control if something falls out of the sky and lands on our head, or maybe these diseases. And that's a totally other show. Perhaps there are ingredients in our foods, or there's things in our environments, but control what you can, Michelle. You will never regret doing your best. And I expect you to say hello to me on Instagram or Facebook, because now I feel like we are besties. So thank you for sharing her question, Colin.
Well, Michelle, first of all, you can't steal my bestie, Bill. Michelle started with me 2 years ago, and we mentioned before about diets, didn't we? And she started on that same pattern, that restrict, weekly weigh-ins. It was called Slaughter World, which we have over here. And when Michelle started with me, I introduced her to this way of implementation, not restriction, about adding new habits. And now she did. She did also say she could have done with you at the finish line of Tough Mudder.
I love that. I love Tough Mudders. Good choice.
But a couple of years ago, Michelle never would have done anything like that. And now she's just started physical sessions. She's hired a in-person PT. She's going to the gym. So what I've done is taken this mindset and I've introduced her to fitness and strength, and now she's absolutely killing it. So I'm glad you asked that question, Michelle, and you've also had Fitz answer to that. And it kind of reconfirms the things I've been teaching as well. The more people say this stuff, the better it is, because it shows a union between everyone's got the right message. We just need to get it out there to the masses.
Right. And then folks like us who are giving out advice for free. I mean, I get paid for speaking. Corporations pay my salary, but other than printed books, I give out all the information for free because I truly care. And it sounds like you're sharing willingly as well. And, when people come across those scoundrels, the snake oil salesmen, the thieves that are just trying to get their money by hawking diets and pills and all of this garbage, they'll know better. So we'll keep being noisy, right, Callum?
Well, I mean, I think that's why it shows that we care as well, Fitz, because anyone can go. The information is free on the internet. Anyone can Google things, get information. So I figure, well, that information's going to be going out for free anyway. I may as well make sure that it's the right information and getting into people, because I want to help people rather than just make money for, like you say, like the snake oil salesman's are.
Yeah.
The pills. I'm seeing a lot of them on Facebook at the minute.
You know what? You/we can make a living the honest way, teaching the right methodology, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, thank you, Fitz. What a show. I've loved it. Loved hearing from you. I love your energy. And I do not think you look like Sinead O'Connor either. So we'll go.
Okay. Crazy Britney Spears. I'm sticking with that.
And one day, hopefully, if you come down to UK, let me know. We'll pickleball it up. And
love it.
We'll add something together to your 21 challenges.
Perfect.
And I might start with 10, but I'm definitely. I have been looking into next year, doing something to raise awareness, raise money for epilepsy and brain tumor stuff. Anyway, that was my plan heading into next year. But you've inspired me to go a little bit further than that, and hopefully you've inspired the listeners as well.
Callum, go to fitzness.com and fill that out for me too, so I know you're on my team doing your rounds.
Absolutely will do. Guys, go and check out the show notes to go and check out a bit more from Fitz, her website. Go and have a look for her books on Amazon, and then go and give her a follow. And make sure you say hello, because she wants friends, not just followers.
That's right.
Thank you, Fitz. It's been great.